I decided to turn it into a short story because it seemed so real. It jolted me out of my sleep, and even after waking up, I was left reeling, believing it had happened. I turned it into the private clause and pull up in the lay-by outside my parents' home. My tire creates a splash on the concrete. Switching off the engine and shuffling in my seat, I look over at my parents' house. Oddly, the front door is open. I look down the side of the house at the wheelie bins, expecting to see Dad putting out the rubbish. He isn't there. I check the living room window, expecting to see a single shutter flexing with Mom's fingers, waving to greet me. But she isn't. The shutters are undisturbed. Unplugging my seatbelt and opening the car door, I unwillingly step out into the wet, chilly air. With the sound of my car door, I check the window again, expecting the door slam to prompt Mum to take a peek. She doesn't. Strange, says my inside voice. Movement at the top of my peripheral vision catches my attention. The upstairs window, one blind shutter out of place, forming a gap. Oh, Mum's upstairs. The blinds begin to rise gradually. Turning back to the car, I press lock on the key and wait the familiar clunk of the car doors locking. Before turning back for the house, walking to the house, I look up at the window, expecting to see Mum waving at me with a big smile on her face. There is a smile, but it's not one I recognize. The stranger's face sends a shiver down my spine. I freeze. I don't know what to do. All I feel is fear. It's someone wearing a mask. The moon crescent shaped grin is permanent, with a bloody redness to it. The stranger teases their arm up and slowly waves at me. I regain control of my body and charge inside. Through the entrance hall, into the sitting room, and onto the stairs. I jump over the first step and stumble on the second. Falling flat onto my front, the step wings me, stopping me momentarily. Regaining my breath, I clamber up. Mom, Dad, I shout upstairs. My foot slips again, forcing me onto all fours. I look up, someone's looming on the landing. It's him staring down at me, still smiling uncontrollably from the top of the stairs. I get back onto my feet and skip the final few steps. I throw my body against him, pushing him against the wall. He doesn't flinch, he smiles. Chuckling under his breath, I tear his mask off his face. He's grey, lacking a healthy skin color. Where are my parents? I hear the fear in the shaky intonation of my voice. He continues staring, holding a wide smile. They are not here anymore, he croaks. I push him aside and run into my parents' bedroom. I see the bed, but I turn away just as quickly. No, I can't look again, but I have to. I turn back to the bed. I see two mounds under the duvet. Smudges of red decorate the room as if I was in an artist's studio. I have had many nightmares, but the worst was when I was 9 years old. There was darkness everywhere. I could not see anything around me. I could hear my mom calling me, but that didn't help. I was too scared to move and felt like I would fall into some bottomless pit if I tried to move. I told myself that it was just a dream and would wake up sometime. But the darkness did not fade away, and the nightmare worsened with the time. It seemed like hours had passed, but nothing happened. I tried to scream and cry out for help, but nothing came out of my mouth. It was as if someone had tied a cloth over my mouth, preventing me from making any noise. I managed to get up from my bed, hoping that this would end soon or get better with time. But as I moved forward, the room grew darker and colder than before. The sound of my mom calling me also faded away, and there were no sign of light anywhere around me. I finally reached the door, hoping to find some source of light or even a human being who would save me from this nightmare. But instead, when I opened the door, all I saw was more darkness. Suddenly, I heard a noise coming from the wardrobe next to me. It sounded like someone was moving things around in it. My sister's dollhouse was in there. And as soon as I heard the noise, I imagined my sister doll watching me with their red eyes, wanting to get out of the wardrobe. Suddenly, I felt something crawling on my arm. I looked down and saw a huge spider. It was black and bigger than my hand. Suddenly, it jumped at me and started attacking me. It bit me hard on my hand and then ran away fast under the sofa. Then there was a loud knocking sound on the door of our apartment. The door opened slowly by itself. It was very dark and cold. I took a step forward, but I couldn't see my feet. I stretched my hands out in front of me, but I couldn't see my hands either. I had no idea where I was or how I got there. It seemed that someone had taken my eyes and put me in the middle of nowhere. Suddenly, an eerie silence, shattered by screams, shook the world around me. R. Instinctively, I screamed too. At least that sounded like to me. A second later, something came flying at me from the sky. It was pitch black and about the size of a football. Once it hit me on my head and knocked me out for a few seconds. When I finally opened my eyes, more black objects were flying towards me from all directions, some big and some small, repeatedly hitting every part of my body. It felt as if someone had opened a hornet's nest on top of me.